This is Curtis Camponi with quotes across locations, and we're actually somewhere pretty cool today for today's episode. We are in Savannah, Georgia for the Southeastern Employment Training Association Conference. Boom, I did it, Alexis. And Alexis is
Yes,
over here
you
very
did.
proud of me. So let's start with Alexis. We have Alexis and Hope Cross here with us, but let's start with Alexis Franks. How are you doing, Alexis?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Tell us about you briefly. Why are we here?
I am here as a part of the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. So we're based out of Missouri, but I am part of the SETA community since I live in North Carolina. So I've been doing workforce work for about 10 years now. And now I get to support other professionals and how they learn and grow in their careers. So it's all fun here.
I like
I'm
it.
good.
Yeah, and we've been having fun because
Yes.
your table is right next to my table, and it's been a minute. And you're on the Quotes Across Locations podcast. Why are you
Yes.
doing this, Alexis?
Yes.
Why are you?
Basically because you bully me.
There
No,
it is.
playing.
Whoa. We'll edit that part.
Yes,
out.
we will.
No. Hope,
Hey,
how are you doing over there?
I am wonderful.
You're also at the conference with us. Tell us about you.
I am. I'm here to talk about stumbling blocks to stepping stones and how to cultivate a resilient mindset, overcome trauma, and build resilience in your life.
I like it. And then you're on this podcast to talk about quotes with us.
Sure, I actually have two quotes that I was thinking about for today.
Okay.
The first is, a burden is when you see something as it is, and vision is when you see something as it can be.
Say it one more time for us, Hope.
A burden is when you see something as it is, and a vision is when you see something as it can be. So I like to replace something with someone, because the work that we do, a lot of times, we see the darkness, we see the behavior that exhibits itself, we see what is in the moment, but to have vision is to see that person as they can be. And I think when you're serving people, you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to look forward and see the potential in that person.
So how does that quote fit in with the famous expression, "It is what it is"?
I think sometimes we kind of bargain down and settle for that quote, that it is what it is, to justify, to make ourselves feel comfortable with it, to give ourselves peace in that moment. But really, it really isn't. It is what it is.
Yeah.
There are things that we cannot change in life, but if we take that mentality, we would never fight to change anything. So I think that we really have to see things as they can be and work to cultivate that vision, not just for ourselves, because we can't do all the work. If we do all the work, we're pushing uphill. But to cultivate that vision in others, so if everybody takes a piece of that burden, then everybody's pushing uphill and it doesn't feel like a burden anymore. It's simply a journey.
I like that. It reminds me of like the saying, if it walks like a duck,
Quacks like a duck.
quacks like a duck, it is a duck. How that conflicts with don't judge a book by its cover. It's like
Oh, yeah.
two sayings people agree on, but then
Right.
they're the complete opposites.
Right.
We pick which one we fit in. How do you what do you comes to mind when you hear the quote that Hope just shared?
I think it's the truth, right? I think if we view anything as a burden, it'll be a burden. But we can look past and look farther and turn anything we want into a journey. I had a conversation with a young lady, an attendee here last night, and she looked at me and she said, "I don't even know how I would get to where you are." And I told her, there's nothing extraordinary that I did. We have very similar circumstances, family situations. I didn't do anything crazy. I took that opportunity, or what I felt like could have been a failure, and I turned it into an opportunity. And anybody can do that. It's changing your mindset, changing your perspective. That is what people need to hear. I think those kinds of quotes, turn it into the journey. It doesn't have to feel like a burden, and that can change your outcome too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why do you think, and this is a question to both of you, that sometimes people feel so bogged down by their burdens, like they really use that, they allow that to be a roadblock to action? Like, why do you think some people just get lost in those burdens sometimes?
Honestly, I think they just can't see the forest for the trees. I don't know. I'm adding another
Yeah,
quote
that's
here.
another one, yeah.
But there is nearsighted. They see today what I'm dealing with today, what I'm going to have to deal with tomorrow, but not necessarily how I can turn it into something else a year from now. And I've heard a friend tell me before, just because it is how it is today doesn't mean it'll be that way in 6 months. Usually it's not that way in 6 months. So I think it's getting out of the space of that survival mode. What do I have to take care of? How can I immediately take care of it? To a long-term thought process. And change happens over time.
Yeah.
I think that's what you say. Did I hear that one from you?
That is. Yeah, that's true. The change process is going to be a long process where the staying the same process doesn't require much because you literally just get to stay the same.
Right.
So if in a way the burden contributes to you allowing to stay the same, even if it's unhealthy or unproductive, it's still allowing you to remain comfortable to a certain extent. For sure. Hope, you said 2 quotes.
I did, but I actually want to continue talking about this quote.
Oh, then
And
please.
I was thinking about the question you asked that Alexis just answered, and I just want to add to that. I think burdens are heavy. There are things that happen in our lives that are heavy, and it takes a lot of energy to hold those things and to carry those things. But it also takes a lot of energy to push past those things and to move forward. So both are hard, and it really is determining which hard you want to choose. Choose the hard that keeps you in the same place, or the hard that pushes you forward and propels you forward. And I think the difference there, I'm a big believer in having and knowing your values, knowing your purpose, and knowing your goals. And I believe if you have values, you've identified them, and you try to live in your values, if you have identified purpose, not necessarily what your purpose is, but a sense of purpose, and have goals, that's the hard you're going to choose. You're going to choose to push through those hard things because your goals, your values, and your purpose are going to propel you. Both are hard. Both are hard. And I think what gives us that perspective that you were talking about is a sense of purpose, goals, and values. So I definitely would encourage people to really seek out what their values are, their purpose, and their goals, because that's what's going to move us from one hard that's not productive to a hard that is extremely productive, that makes us victors rather than victims.
I like that. Yeah, because if you realize you're not behaving in ways that align with your purpose, the idea of seeing something how it can be is going to be a little easier, because it has to be, because you have to behave in ways that align with the things that are most important to you. I remember I was going through something personally, and I was kind of, what's it called when you're not sulking, but you're kind of like stuck in a rut, like, you know what I mean?
That's what I call it. Yeah.
A little bit just like, woe is me, that type of thing.
Right.
And then like in this moment of like self-reflection or self-awareness, I asked myself, how would a confident person respond in this situation? And I'm someone who really values confidence. Like, I want to have confidence. I want to do things that give me confidence. So when I asked myself that question, I just like kind of smiled at them, and I was like, they definitely wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. They wouldn't be sitting here sulking, like, you know what I mean? So then that was like, so now I got to make a decision. Do I value confidence? Because if I do, what I'm doing does not align with it. So now I have to get back in line with the things that are most important to me on purpose, or I have to acknowledge that maybe confidence isn't important to me. But either way, I got to do something about it.
Right.
And if it's something that's truly connected to my purpose, my why, my values, I'm going to act towards it. So that moment of self-awareness got me out of that tough time, for sure.
That's cool.
I think the key that you mentioned there was self-awareness.
Yes.
Taking time to reflect and really dig down into what was going on, because that person that has confidence might have actually been in that moment of sulking, but they had enough self-awareness to say, I might be here right now, but this is not where I'm going to stay. So how do I move forward? And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, and that's like the whole, the other quote is like, can't just remove the T. And
Right.
this can, and I know that's kind of corny, that's your classic YouTube short TikTok, but that's the reality. Like, you can. Like, it's not a matter of you can, it's just trying to find how we get there.
Right.
But it's tough depending on and I'm sure we've all been to a point where we just kind of threw up our hands. But you got to bounce back there. That's a good quote, Hope. I appreciate that. I said I was going to ask you for your second, but I lied because I want to let Alexis share one that she has.
Okay, yeah, sure. So mine may not be as powerful, but I think it is the reason why we're here this week. So one of the things that I like to think about and talk about is how we're connecting the work that we do. We all focus on different populations, different services, how we're getting people to their dreams, their goals, their purpose, their career. And I think the quote that I recently heard, it all starts with us. So there may be the person that we come into contact with that has never seen or heard or felt someone express their confidence in them, that there is a way for them to get the things that they desire out of their own lives. And it starts with us. If we can provide that for someone that may have never heard it or may have never been exposed to what a career looks like, all of those things, that's a beginning to a whole new life. So to me, that one stuck because you really don't know the impact that you have. And I can tell you for a fact, I mean, Curtis, we've known each other for years. Hope, we've known each other for a while now too. I can tell you how much impact that you've had on my life that I probably never even expressed before, but it's just our conversations. It's a whole new perspective, a whole new way forward, and it sticks with me even to this day. I don't know where I could have been if I didn't have people like that were able to express what they saw in me or what the ability or the potential or all of those things. But it starts with us. And if I can't give that to somebody else, then what am I doing here? Where am I leaving the impact? So that's the one that stuck with me the most.
Okay, Alexis, you getting me all in my feels. Look at you. Saying something nice, and I got it recorded.
Something nice. You keep this one.
That's gonna be on all the social medias on repeat. I might make that my ringtone. What do you?
I think
you
you're
have
gonna
ringtones like that.
I think you're gonna listen to it every night before you go to sleep.
No, I think it's a good point, and it kind of reminds me of like legacy, like really like. Money and, awards, all that. Really, the impact you have is the effects you have on others.
Right.
Did you make people feel good or did you help others? Like when you're long gone, that's it. That's the only thing that keeps you going, not like what you had, like the tangible items. I think that's deep. What do you think, Hope, when you hear a quote like that?
I think it's super powerful. And as you were talking, I was listening and I was thinking, what came to mind was sometimes we take, kind of going back to that easy hard or the two hards, right? I think sometimes we look externally and we're waiting for someone to swoop in and save us, or we're waiting for somebody else to step up and do the work. And so we're just waiting for somebody else to do something when it really does start with us. And why? Why are we waiting? Why are we standing here? Why are we sitting here? Why are we waiting for a Superman or a Batman to come in when each of us has within us a unique set of skills, a unique gifting that the world needs? And it's exactly what's going to spark that fire and ignite that hope in that next person, whether it's somebody we're just conversating with, a friend, a family member, a student, one of our clients, our peers, or somebody we meet at a conference like this. And I think when we can ask ourselves, why am I waiting? When within me I have something. I don't need to have everything, because together we all have what we need. But each of us has something to contribute to the world, to contribute to those in our world. So I think just one, asking that question, why am I waiting? Two, asking what do I have to contribute? And three, just getting started and start pouring out what you have. And I think when you do that, you're going to have more and more to pour out, because I do believe that gives confidence as well.
Yeah, and it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
When you do things for other people, especially if it's unconditional, Like unconditional kindness is a superpower. Like the type of kindness you give for no other reason, just to be kind. Like if no one sees it, no one hears about it, there's no exchange of, you don't get something from them, you just were kind.
Right.
Like that's powerful. And that, like how you respond to people 100% influences how they respond to others as well. Now that doesn't mean if you're kind to someone, they're going to be kind to everybody, but you do have an impact on people's mood, you know, even if it's just short term. So being able to say, okay, what can I control in this situation? Did I do the things that represent who I am and who I want to be? There's power in that.
It
for
is,
sure.
definitely.
I like that. All right, so let's do this to wrap it up. I have 10 random quotes in front of me, and I would like us to pick a number, and then we'll just talk about that one off the cuff. What number are you thinking?
How about number 9?
I like 9. 9 is
Okay.
good.
9 does sound good. Let's see what 9 is. You have not lived today until you have done something for someone who can never repay you. That's deep.
That's a deep
That's
one too.
deep. That reminds me of the other one I really like is, you plant trees for shade you will never feel. I think that's really deep as well. When you're out and about, how often do you think about kindness when interacting with others, strangers, the public? Where is kindness for you when the decisions you make?
I think it falls pretty high for me personally, because I'm always, maybe even to a fault, double guessing what I say. Does that sound kind? Could they take it the wrong way? So for me, that kindness is important. It is how I live day to day. And I think for so many people, they appreciate random acts of kindness, or even what you were mentioning, unconditional impact that you have on their life just by being kind and not expecting anything in return. Like that's a whole different level of, I appreciate you as a human being to think about someone else that much just to show a kind act, holding a door, you know, getting something that fell on the floor for another person that's still walking. It can be small or large, but I think kindness, even in just thought, means something to other people. It means something to me.
You actually just made me have like almost an aha moment, because while you were talking, I was thinking about kindness versus like compassion versus empathy versus sympathy. And I was trying to like in my mind, like process how those differ. But going back to the unconditional kindness, like compassion, you are responding in a way or acting in a way to show them compassion. You're helping them out by taking action towards something. But in order to do that, you have to have some backstory of understanding about what they're going through in order to help them. Whereas unconditional kindness, you don't know this person at all. You don't know their story. You're just helping just to help.
Right.
There's no other motivation. And that is just, that's what the world needs. That's deep. And I just like had that moment while you were saying that. It's like you're saying, I'm just going to pick this up just because I think it's the right thing to do, you know. And I think there's no like politics of that. There's no like you think how I think differently. There's no like who do you support. It's just I'm just helping, you know,
Right.
just to help. None of the other stuff matters. Tell me about kindness. What are your thoughts on?
Well, I think of kindness as action. You know, when I think of compassion and empathy, I think it starts with a feeling, whether we take an action toward it or not. But kindness really does require more of us. It requires a little bit more investment from us in order for the other person to receive it. And I think and I say sacrifice because, you know, are we really giving something away if it's not a sacrifice? So I just think like that, like just one, you have to be self-aware of yourself. Because I don't know if you guys ever get tired or overwhelmed. The first thing in the front of your mind may not be the other person. It may be the situation that you're facing. So I think to really be aware of that kindness of the other person, and it actually brings you into the present instead of whatever's going on in your mind. It connects you with the person right there in front of you instead of disconnects. And I think the world kind of teaches us sometimes to disconnect. It's easy to be disconnected through social media. but to connect with that person right in front of you, to make some kind of sacrifice of yourself, whatever it is, whether it's a word, a gesture, or giving something away, or just positioning somebody else for success. And I think it shows that person that they are valued and important. And we don't know what other people are going through. Just like we carry certain things with us today, we don't know what the other person is going through. We don't know what they're facing. So I think that kindness goes a lot further, because it might just reinforce to them, hey, I am someone, I am important, I am valuable, I have a reason to keep pushing forward today. And I think that's why those random acts are so important. We hear those inspirational stories,
Right.
I think, about people on their way to do something terrible, and just somebody that waves or says hi or helps them carry their books or whatever it is, literally changes their life. And you never know. And I think that is what is so powerful about random acts of kindness, is the impact it has on the other person that we will never necessarily know about.
I remember that brings up, this was probably early 20s. I was working at a group home, really tough job, toxic culture. And I was just having a really bad morning. And my mindset was just like, this is not a good day. I'm angry, I'm pissed off. And I stopped at a gas station to get gas. And I walk in and I just had, that look on like, nobody say anything to me. And the register guy was just over the top nice. Like, so nice, it was just like, what is happening here? He's like, hey. I was like, I said nothing to him. Hey man, how's it going? Like, he just kept just being nice. And eventually I had like that, again, a self-aware moment. And I was like, why am I sticking at being mad right now? Like, why am I so determined just to be in a bad mood? Like, he made me like change my mood. Like, why am I sticking to this? And then the kindness and compassion thing, I think is really interesting now that brought up, because it's kind of like the grocery cart. When people say, do you put the grocery cart away in the parking lot?
Oh.
Like some people put it in the grocery cart holder. Some people just leave it.
Stick it on the grass.
Yeah, it's always like some debate in social media. It's like, what do you do? Are you the person that puts it away? It's just like, but I think like kindness in that situation would be, I'm putting it away just so if someone does come around, they don't run their car into it. I want to help the random worker who I don't know. I want to just do the right thing. Whereas compassion would be like, if you see like a mom, carrying her child, trying to push the cart. So you're like, hey, let me go help her. Let me put that away from her, because you have a little bit more of a backstory. But the unconditional kindness, random acts, is just, I'm just doing this with the belief it'll have an impact, but I don't necessarily need to know if it did. Does that make sense?
It does. It's not where I thought you were going, but it definitely makes sense.
Where did you think I was going, Alexis?
I was thinking the unconditional was like, hey, I'm going to take this back in the store.
Yeah.
I don't know if that worker is going to be able to come outside.
Yeah.
It might be raining later. We never know. But,
You're digging even
that's
deeper
that
there.
extra mile there. But,
Yeah.
I think it's all the same spirit of impact. I think it's all just consideration for someone else, for someone else's situation, circumstance. And then again, how you're going to make that impact. And that's for some more than others, maybe not. The consideration piece is where it starts. And then how you move to that action. Does it motivate you to action?
Yeah, and I think too, like, kindness sounds like it's more about us. And back to your quote, it starts with us, right? Because like the person who doesn't put their cart away, we don't want to get lost in what that means.
Right.
We're like, oh, because that person is selfish and, how dare they, right? If you're just truly having unconditional kindness, you're not bothered by that, because it's not about what they do. It's about what you contribute to the world. Let's end there. I think that's really powerful. I'll start with Alexis and then go to Hope. Alexis, any final thoughts on this? And then for our listeners, is there any type of call to action that you want to draw them to, so that they can look either into you or more what you do, or anything like that?
Absolutely, yeah. So thank you for inviting me to be here. I know this is a lot of good work that we're all doing, but the fact that we can have these conversations really means something. It's another one that I can take away with me and use it in my day to day. So I appreciate you having me here. And I'm taking notes too, because I am with NAUDUP and starting our own podcast.
Yes.
So you're leading me in the right direction here. Didn't know you were still my mentor, right?
Yeah, oh man. I'm getting so many affirmations today. I don't know what to do with.
Well, I've been bothering you all week, so it offsets all of that.
We both been, but yeah.
But so our call to action, I think today is just to learn more about NAUDUP, how we're connecting workforce professionals. Take a listen to our podcast. I'm hoping to have you as a guest with me as well.
Definitely.
So I'll return the favor to you.
Yes.
But
how can we find it, the podcast?
The best way is on our website, www.naudup.org/workforce on the mic.
Got it. Oof. I like it. Okay. Thank you, Alexis. I appreciate you being on here. I look forward to that podcast and definitely encourage everybody listening to go check it out as well. Miss Hope.
So I am going to say that my call to action is going to be another quote. So another quote that I really like, which I actually base my business, Cultivating Hope, on, is a quote that says, "What I am trying to cultivate is not blind optimism, but radical hope." And I think about the world that we live in, and I think about the circumstances. Poverty is not gentle. Homelessness is not gentle. Drug addiction, substance abuse addiction, they're not gentle. They're radical. And so I believe that hope should be just as radical, because the only thing that's going to really overpower the radical from that darkness is going to be radical light. And I believe that when people have a little hope in their lives, that anything is possible. They can face those barriers that we were talking about, that hard that we were talking about. If you have hope, then it's going to light the way for you to keep pushing forward. So I would say that if you're in the workforce or any kind of service field and you're listening to this, and you're afraid to step forward with that radical hope, just remember that the clients that you're serving are facing radical situations every day. It's okay to be that radical source of light and hope, and kind of light their journey, light their path. So that's what I would leave them with.
I like that.
And that's it.
I like it, Hope. And then your website?
So you can visit my website at cultivatinghopetraining.com, or reach me at cultivatinghope@outlook.com. And again, my business is Cultivating Hope.
I love it. And I'll put, for the listeners, information for both Alexis and Hope, how to reach them in the description. And I thank you for listening to Quotes Cross Locations. Alexis, Hope, thank you for being a part of this. Definitely check out the other episodes, and we hope that we have added some motivation and inspiration for you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.